So what is leadership? Well, leadership is a number of things, but there's one word that summarizes it. If you watched the video from earlier, you should be able to answer this. Now, I'm not talking about the day 2 video. I'm talking about the video on leadership. So hopefully, if you watched it, you would have gleaned that the answer to this is A, it's influence. The true measure of leadership is influence. Next question. How is leadership different from authority? Is it A, B, C, or D? If you need more time, just hit the pause button, but I really want you to think about it. All right, so the best answer to this is leadership does not need a position or title. It's not about that. Leadership is all about influence. Authority, on the other hand, is all about your stated authority. So your stated authority is the beginning of trying to influence, but it's not the be all end all. Okay, according to that video that I put out earlier, if you watched it, who has more authority? Is it the project manager or the scrum master? Now I'm wondering what you came up with for this one, but the answer is, it depends. But in the world of Agile, put on your Agile thinking cap. What would you choose out of these? And the best answer is C, because even if Scrum Masters did have, in quote, authority to do certain things to the team, let's say they had a second role in the company, maybe they were Scrum Masters, but they were also something else. A Scrum Master who is truly in the spirit of Agile knows that it's not about being authoritarian. You are on a team. It's an equal opportunity team. It's a self-managing, self-led team. So the best answer would be C. Scrum Masters are not authoritarian. And it would be incorrect to say project managers have no authority, because project managers start from a position anyway, right? Everyone has some measure of authority in the job, even the janitor, right? They have the authority to do certain things. So it wouldn't be correct to say no authority. Might be not as much authority, could be a lot of authority. But for this question, the bottom line is Scrum Masters are not authoritarian. Let's move on to number 4. How can one lead without authority? If you watched the video from earlier, I talked about influence. So what would you choose based on that video? The answer to this would be B, leverage great interpersonal skills and empathy. That's how you can get ahead. That's how you can influence. That's how you can lead. Remember, leadership is all about influence. All right, I'm curious to know if you really looked up servant leadership, because it was one of the questions. So what is servant leadership? Is it A, B, C, or D? I try to make them as easy as possible so that it wouldn't be one of those gotcha kind of questions. All right, the best answer to this is a posture of influencing through service. That's option B. A servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of people and the communities to which they belong. While traditional leadership generally involves the accumulation and exercise of power by one at the top of the pyramid, servant leadership is different. Servant leader shares power, puts the needs of others first, and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. The servant leader is a servant first. Moving on, what is the Hersey-Blanchard model? I asked you to read it up. So is it A, B, C, or D? All right, the answer to this is it's the same as the situational leadership theory. All right, you can find this in your PMBOK Guide 7th edition. That's where it's talked about, not in a lot of detail, but in our book, the PMP exam immersion book, we go into a lot of detail about that. So for those of you that have not gotten the book, you can get the book. The links are below in the description. Okay, so the Hersey-Blanchard model, the same as the situational leadership theory. All right, so it was created by Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard, and they developed this while working on management of organizational behavior. The theory was introduced way back in 1969 as the life cycle theory of leadership. The Hersey-Blanchard model suggests that no single leadership style is better than another. Instead of focusing on workplace factors, the model suggests leaders adjust their styles to those they lead and their abilities. All right, let's move on. And I'll just say that in the 7th edition, it doesn't mention Paul Hersey, which is not nice in my perspective. They should mention, because they both worked on that. Now, Ken has his own spin-off on it. And of course, Paul, rest his soul, had his own spin-off, but they both worked on it together. Let's go to number 7. What is transformational leadership? Is it A, B, C, or D? Hopefully you did open up your PMBOK guide 6th edition, and hopefully you were able to get the answers to this. All right, so is it A, B, C, or D? All right, so the best answer is A. The PMBOK guide reads, empowering followers through idealized attributes and behaviors, inspirational motivation, encouragement for innovation and creativity. So the best option, you always go look for the best option, all right? A lot of these other things here are bogus. What is charismatic leadership? Is it A, B, C, or D? Again, these are very simple questions. All I'm trying to do is get you to just gradually go into the content and feel more comfortable about the subject matter. You know, it's more about you knowing this terminology than you answering a bunch of questions. So as long as you understand the concepts, we've accomplished something. So what is charismatic leadership? All right. So the best answer is A. It's the ability to inspire through high energy and enthusiasm. This is again in your PMBOK Guide 6th edition. If you'd done the homework, you would have been able to read it up. All right. So what is your leadership style? Did you answer this one in the homework? So did anyone say I am a situational leader? I was hoping you said that. So let's take a look at the options here. We have A, B, C, or D. And there's nothing here that is right or wrong. Some might be honest, saying they're an autocratic leader. At least they know. But the best answer to this question for a mature project manager or leader is to understand the concept of being a situational leader. Okay, not bucketizing yourself and pigeonholing yourself. All right, next one. Which PMBOK process is dedicated to leadership? What do you think? Is it A, B, C, or D? All right, so I was hoping that you would choose out of A, B, C, or D, option C, right? So it's most focused on it, especially when we know there's feedback and there's influencing involved in option C. Option B has a little bit of it, more of the development side, but majority of what constitutes option C is leadership. D is for physical resources, so it doesn't apply. All right, let's take a look at 11. Traditional project management is decentralized compared to agile. Agile leadership is generally centralized. Which one of these is true? So how does leadership in traditional differ from leadership in agile? What do you think? All right, 3, 2, and 1. The answer to this is option D. Agile leadership tends to be decentralized compared to traditional. Let's go to number 12. What is a vision? I'm curious to know if you really did this homework, folks. So when I put homework out, I am looking for a response. I'm hoping that you put some of your own ideas. And I actually didn't see any ideas when I took a look at this. So I'm hoping that those of you who are on the program will go back and put your own ideas in. But what is a vision? Is it A, B, C, or D? All right, the best answer to this is a big idea of the future. It's not B, it's not C, it's not D. All right, so you could say a big idea of the future or what it looks like. Number 13, what is a mission? All right, so a mission explains or describes the organization's purpose and its overall intention. The mission statement supports the vision and serves to communicate purpose and direction to employees, customers, and other stakeholders. All right, let's move on. Explain diversity and inclusion. What best describes it? And what is it if you did the homework? Okay. So the best option is option A. Might have taken you a little bit of time to read it, but it's really recognition and respect of differences by building an inclusive culture. Let's move on to number 15. What are the 10 tenets of servant leadership? Select two options. There we go. Which two would you select? Okay, 3, 2, and 1. So the best options to have selected here that tell the whole story, A and B. The other two sound good, but they're not the 10 tenets. 10 tenets: listening, empathy, healing, awareness, persuasion, commitment to growth of others, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, and building community. If you haven't read those, well, now you see them. All right, number 16. Explain the 4 leadership styles in the Hersey-Blanchard model. Now, if you saw them in a lineup, would you know which 4 they are? Go for it. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Let's get rid of those ticks. So the best answer for this would be directing, coaching, participating, and delegating. Option D. D. All right, let's move on. Number 17. What is inspiration and how is it different from motivation? Again, hit that pause button if you need more time. For those of you just coming, we are on our 40 days to PMP exam success. We're looking at the homework for day 2. And we're trying to ensure that people actually did do the homework and understand what all this terminology means. All right, so the best answer to this is inspiration could be a longer lasting driving force. Okay, A, B, and C are incorrect. Motivation is not longer lasting necessarily, and it's not necessarily, motivation is not from within. And inspiration, saying inspiration is from outside and has more lasting outcomes is not true either. We know motivation comes from without. Most times inspiration could be spurred, right, from, of course, an external source, but then it could be made to ignite something within you. So we often say motivation is a push factor. We could say motivation is more like an outside force compelling you to take action, whereas inspiration awakens you to new possibilities by allowing you to transcend how you typically think, your ordinary experiences and limitations. And inspiration propels someone from apathy to possibility, transforms the way we perceive our own capabilities, and inspiration could be overlooked sometimes. Sometimes we may not even know that it's around the corner. All right, let's move on to number 18. Explain the differences between team contract, social contract, and so on. What do you think the answer to this is? All right. So team contract, social contract, team agreements, team charter, they all mean the same thing. Okay, so B, C, and D are all bogus. The best answer is A. Number 19. Explain ways to analyze team member and stakeholder influence. So which of these would you use to analyze team member and stakeholders' influence? Which one makes the most sense? All right, so the best answer to this is C. It wouldn't be D because D is not used to analyze influence. It's used to check engagement. All right, so engagement does not necessarily equal influence. So the best one here is C. Number 20, and then we're done. Number 20 says, at a high level, explain how to lead team members and stakeholders. So how would you do that? Here are some options. Would you use mentoring and coaching concepts? Use punishment? Which of these? All right, my friends, we are fast coming to the end of today's session. The answer to this is A, mentoring and coaching concepts. All right, so if you've been on the journey and you do not have your copy of the immersion book, you need to go look for where you can find that in the links. And I always refer you to various books. I refer you to this, the Agile Practice Guide. Once in a while, I refer you to the 7th edition. And I often refer you to the 6th edition. So if you're wondering which books I use, there they are. But I want you to read for day 2, chapter 2. I know some of you have not been able to do that because you're working and you're busy, but hopefully on weekends, you are going to be able to do that. Okay, if you got any questions for me, you can feel free to chat them in now. If I don't find any questions, I'll assume you know exactly what to do. All right, going once, going twice. All right, thank you very much, my friends, for joining me. And I wish you all the very best in your prep. Just stay fixed on the program. Don't fall off the wagon. You'll be extremely glad you did. Like I told you on a previous podcast, this has been going on for over 10 years. There are a lot of people that have been certified through this curriculum. All right, so I hope you found this to be useful. I wish you all the very best. Keep on trucking.